This is Tim Bryce with my column entitled Remembering the Doolittle Raid. April 18th represents the anniversary of many key events in history. In 1906, it marked the destructive San Francisco earthquake and fire. Yankee Stadium opened in 1923, the house that Ruth built. In 1943, Japanese Admiral Yamamoto was shot down by American flyers over Bougainville, and in 1983, a suicide bomber destroyed the American embassy in Beirut, killing 63 people. To me, though, April 18th primarily means one thing, the 1942 Doolittle raid on Japan. 72 years ago today, Lieutenant Colonel James Jimmy Doolittle of the U.S. Army Air Forces, the precursor to the U.S. Air Force as we know it today, led an attack on industrial targets in Japan as retribution for the sneak attack on Pearl Harbor, just over 4 months earlier. Considering the state of our military at the time, it is amazing America was able to pull together this response in such a short period of time. Make no mistake, though, this was done more for rallying the spirit of America as opposed to making a strategic knockout punch. My fascination with the raid began as a young man when I purchased the book 30 Seconds Over Tokyo by Captain Ted Larson. This is the first book I purchased at my grammar school book fair. Like a lot of youths of the period, the early 1960s, I wrote a book report on it. In 1944, the book was followed by a movie of the same name starring Spencer Tracy and Van Johnson. From the book, I developed a fascination with the B-25 Mitchell, representing the 16 aircraft used in the raid. It remains my favorite medium bomber from that era. Interestingly, it was named after General Billy Mitchell, a hero of mine who was an early pioneer of air power. As an aside, it was Mitchell who predicted the attack on Hawaii a full 17 years before it happened. Mitchell also foresaw the need for medium and heavy bombers. I will not try to explain the story of the raid herein, as it has already been well told in both print and film. Suffice it to say, it was an imaginative and courageous effort to strike back at the Japanese war machine. The raiders were escorted to Japan aboard the USS Hornet, which they launched from when they got within range of Japan. A daring feat, as bombers had never flown off an aircraft carrier before. The raiders carried out their bombing run on various targets in and around Tokyo before making their escape to China. One group made it to the USSR, where they were imprisoned for a year. 2 groups were captured by the Japanese, with 3 men being tried for military crimes and executed. The others were imprisoned in a Japanese POW camp for over 3 years. A few perished as they tried to land in China, but most made their escape thanks to the Chinese. Because of this, the Japanese killed approximately 250,000 Chinese for assisting the Americans. Of the 80 men participating in the raid, only 4 survived to date, one of which is approaching 99 years of age. That's Richard Dick Cole. Over the years, the raiders held many reunions. Following the war, the citizens of Tucson, Arizona made a presentation of 80 sterling goblets to the group so the raiders could toast each other, both living and past. A bottle of cognac accompanies the goblets for the last 2 remaining raiders to open and enjoy. The raiders no longer hold reunions as they have become old and frail, and the goblets are now maintained at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. As an aside, there is now an effort underway to award the Congressional Gold Medal to the raiders before the last few pass away. For information, see the Doolittle Tokyo Raiders at www.doolittlerader.com. The group needs your support. Following Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt was looking for a way to lift the morale of the American people. He also wanted to send a message to the Japanese people that they were not as invulnerable as the government would have them believe. Navy Captain Francis Lowe, the Assistant Chief of Staff for Anti-Submarine Warfare, was credited with the idea for launching bombers off of aircraft carriers. The plan was developed and implemented by Colonel Doolittle, a well-known and respected aviator prior to the war. The mission was bold, imaginative, inspirational, and achieved its goals. The raid caused nominal material destruction on Japan, nothing like the extensive daylight and evening bombing of Europe. However, it achieved the psychological objectives Roosevelt was hoping for, such as lifting the spirits of Americans while planting the seeds of doubt in the Japanese. I write about the Doolittle raid for 2 reasons: as a history lesson for our youth and to remind us that we could use such ingenuity and courage today. Friends, keep the faith. This is Tim Bryce in Palm Harbor, Florida. Follow me on the internet at timbryce.com.